What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Henderson here, and this is The Punisher, Season 1, Episode 5, Gunner. So in this episode, Frank and Micro go to track down one of the members of Frank's old group, Gunner Henderson. He was introduced last episode in a flashback, and kind of a funny introduction, actually, because he starts off, quoting all these Bible scriptures, and you kind of think he's going to be that stereotypical, Christian soldier who's just always, upbeat and positive, and it's okay, guys, God's got us. Um, and so I thought they were going to go with that stereotype for him, but then he quotes all these Bible scriptures. Frank's looking at him like, what? And then he just nah, I'm just kidding, man, and shakes his hand. What's up, man? I'm Gunner. So we find out that apparently he's the one that taped this execution of Ahmad something? Kuber, I think is his last name. But he's the one that videotaped the execution, and the one that Madani has. So Frank and Micro managed to track him down. They're trying to find him so they can find out more about Agent Orange, and track down his whereabouts. And so one of the things that I love about this episode is we get to see more of Frank and Micro working together. And in my opinion, this little friendship / working relationship has really blossomed. Because there's a lot of funny dialogue between the two. They actually work very well together. We see at the end, Frank manages to track him down, but then gets shot with an arrow because he's scared of everybody. But Frank manages to convince him, hey, I'm just a friend. So they start talking, but then all of a sudden soldiers sent by Agent Orange are coming to track them down. And so they're in the woods completely blind and have no weapons. And they're, Gunner's been shot twice. Frank has been shot with an arrow and then shot once in the stomach. And so they're just kind of really struggling. Well, Micro gets out a little drone and sends it out to where they are, and then starts talking to Frank in his ear, telling him where all these soldiers are. And it was a really nice scene to see them working together finally, because we've seen them just sort of hate each other for most of these few episodes where they've been together. And so now they're actually working together, and it's working out very well. They managed to take out all the group of soldiers that came. So I really did like that scene, and I thought it showed how they've grown as a partnership. But ultimately, the episode ends in kind of a strange fashion, because we see Frank is taking Gunner and trying to get him back so he can get help to him. But he collapses, and Frank is collapsing as well. He says, hang on, I'll go get help. And then he collapses in the woods until Micro happens upon him and takes his body to the back of the van, hooks him up to an IV, and starts driving away. And Frank wakes up, and I'm thinking, maybe he's going to be upset because, they left Gunner out there, and you never leave a man behind. But he just kind of chuckles and says, I think you're going to be all right. And so, I don't know, I guess he's okay because Micro did save his life, but I wonder if that is going to come back, because Gunner was somebody that he was close with, and he was a guy who probably had some information as well. So, I don't know, I'll be interested to see where they're going to take that. But that's pretty much all that happens on that side of the story. But there are a few other stories going on. So, first off, we'll talk about Madani. She, after recovering from her car crash, she goes into work way too early, and ultimately we realize that she's not going to tell anybody about Frank being alive and saving her, because, I'm not really sure why yet. Part of it, I think, is because she knows there's something bigger going on here because he saved her life. So I do think it's kind of a mixture of she doesn't want to turn him in yet because she knows there's something else to this story, and she knows that she's got to be the one to figure it out. She wants to hear directly from Frank why he killed Ahmad and what exactly was going on behind the scenes. But I think there's also an element of, I think she realizes that people are going to look at her like she's a little bit crazy. She says, hey, this dead man is the one that ran my car over and pulled me out of the car alive. She manages to convince Stein, though, which I do think he trusts her. He's not really a big fan of hers, though, because he thinks that she's kind of a lone wolf, and he doesn't really see her as somebody that he can work with. But at the same time, he also does realize she is a good agent, and she is very trustworthy. So she does tell him that Frank is the one that pulled her out, and he's like, let's tell them what happened. But he ultimately lies for her as well. And I do have to wonder how much of that for him was, if I tell them this, are they really going to believe me? So I do think it's a little bit of a mixture of both. You're not sure if you're going to be believed if you're claiming a dead man is the one that saved you, and also how much of it for Madani is, just wanting to make sure she gets the truth for herself instead of sending all these people after Frank Castle, and then all of a sudden, the truth gets covered up because the other people want to cover it up. So that's pretty much most of what happens in Madani's story, is just the questioning, trying to figure out what happened to her. And then at the end, she goes and talks with Billy, and we have to have our one obligatory sex scene for the year, or for the season. So we get that in Madani and Billy hooking up. So I'm not really sure why. They don't really have a whole lot of chemistry. They had drinks in the first, or was it the second episode? Maybe in the second episode. And then they go out for drinks again, and then they go and have sex. So I don't know where this is leading. I don't know if they're trying to set up something, or if they just wanted to have a sex scene and they're just like, hey, yeah, those two, let's do it. So that's all that happens for Madani. Talk about Karen real quick. First, she gets pulled in by Madani to ask her some questions about Frank Castle, because she knows she used to be close with Frank. And so then she goes and talks to Frank herself and tells him that Madani was asking her questions. And then there's this really nice scene between the two where the emotion was really there. You can really feel all of it. And she's asking a very good question. What happens after all of this? If you just go and kill all these people, they're going to be painted as martyrs. So why not try to expose them? Why not, drag them down and make sure people know the horrible people that they are, instead of just killing them? Well, everybody thinks they're heroes. So I do think that's kind of something that he's going to start to look at for most of the season. Because, frankly, the Punisher isn't that type of guy. He's not that thinker. He's just the person who says, I'm going to kill all these people because they hurt me. They killed my family, I kill all of them. That's the type of man he is. But I think if you think more like Karen, yeah, you bring down, especially Agent Orange, we'll talk about him in a second, but we see him in this episode being honored. Yeah, a lot of people really respect him. And you think if you just go and you kill him, well, now all of a sudden he's a martyr that was killed by the horrible man, Frank Castle, who's gone around killing all these people. All of a sudden the story gets painted to where Frank's the bad guy and Orange is the good guy. We actually find out his name is William Rollins. Start calling him Rollins. But yeah, so I do like the fact that they do focus on that a bit. And on top of that, they're kind of building a little bit of a relationship between Karen and Frank. I don't know if it's a romantic one, kind of feels like maybe it is, but at the same time, I don't know. I don't see them together, because, I don't know. Karen just doesn't seem like that she'd be into that type, at least from what I know. I don't know. Maybe they are just because they want to have Frank fall for somebody, but then again, he's kind of falling for Micro's family, so we'll talk about that real quick. He goes to fix the headlight, and Micro's son is there and being a total douchebag. It's kind of weird to see, because a kid his age, yeah, some of them can be little brats, and don't get me wrong, I've seen some really bratty little kids, but this one's just like especially bratty. It's like they went a little bit overboard with some of his lines. Like he rides up on a skateboard. What are you doing here? The guy's fixing the headlight of your mom's car. Hello? And then his sister's like, what do you do with the skateboard? You didn't have one this morning when you left. He's like, well, now I do. And then walks away and like, does like the, what bullies do to kids in high school. Like they walk up and bam, shoulder check him out of the way. He does that to his sister who's older than him. Like, why? And then on top of that, later on, Frank's inside talking with Leo, the daughter, and talking about the Life of Pi book. And then the wife is in there, and so he's talking to her a little bit. And then Leo suggests that they invite Frank over for dinner on Sunday. And all of a sudden, here comes little, what's his name, David? I think, yeah. Because, was it? I can't remember David's son's name now. But yeah, so he's there, and all of a sudden he's just like, yeah, she never cooks, and then like runs away all angry. I'm just like, these scenes are weird because they're just not, they feel a little bit overboard with the son. Just, don't get me wrong, like I said, I've seen bratty kids. I know kids can be like this from time to time, but to have every single line of dialogue be this angry, malicious stuff, it just doesn't really make sense, because even the most bratty kids have moments where they're okay and they're feeling better. This kid is just, every single word that comes out of his mouth is just dripping with violent hatred. I'm just like, no kid is like that. They're going to find something. They're going to try to talk normally from time to time. And especially, talking to the parents as well. Now, once again, kids can be like this because sometimes parents can't find it in them to discipline them correctly. So maybe the mom isn't doing a good job of disciplining him, which is why he talks back to her. But once again, there's still moments where they do get along because no kid is just 100% all the time malicious toward their parents. That doesn't happen. So, I don't know. It's just, every time he's on there, it's weird. I will give them credit, though, because every scene, the actors around the kid, they do a very good job of making it feel as awkward as it looks. So he says, "Oh, you never cook," or "She never cooks," and then just runs off. That's an awkward line. That's an awkward moment. Everybody else makes it feel awkward. They make it seem like, yeah, that even in real life, that's awkward. And so they're all just kind of sitting there like, what do we say to that? And then finally they change the topic after some silence. I'm like, it was a good reaction to it, so I guess they've done that well. But yeah, the kid definitely needs some work as far as his character. So that's about all there. We see Micro watching in on it. He's kind of looking like he's getting a bit jealous. So I'm hoping they're not going to do like some weird love triangle thing where the wife is falling for Frank and then Micro gets jealous and they start fighting about that. Because frankly, there's bigger things to worry about than that. But anyway, so finally we'll talk about Agent Orange, William Rollins. So we see him, we get introduced to him. He's at the CIA and he's talking to new recruits for the CIA. And then he turns around and we see he's got now a glass eye and he's got like a scar from where Frank, I guess he knocked his eye out or something. I'm not sure. I thought he just punched him really hard and made his eye bleed, but it turns out he's barely missing an eye now. So yeah, I kind of figured this is where they're going with it, but sure enough, he gets a Medal of Honor for everything that happened over in Kandahar. And I'm just like, so you're playing that off like you got that from the enemy, when in reality you didn't do a thing, and one of your own guys got pissed and punched you in the eye and knocked it out. That is like the pinnacle of being a douchebag. Just like you did nothing. You get punched by one of your own men because you did nothing. And then you come back saying, "Oh, I lost my eye in the war. It was crazy, man. I fought. I did my country proud." I'm just like, I cannot wait for you to go down. It's going to be some nice comeuppance when he finally gets what's coming to him. But he is the one that sends the soldiers after Frank and Gunner in the woods. And one of the things I really enjoyed about this scene was getting to see his reaction when he realizes that Frank is still alive. Because, it all of a sudden starts to bring back memories of, oh crap, my eye. He's the guy that knocked it out. And his reaction was just perfect. When Frank kills one of the soldiers and his face pops up on the camera monitor, you could just see him go, just like all of a sudden get a little bit scared. So I'll be interested to see what the plan is next for him. But we see I guess it's the deputy director for the CIA. She's taking over now as the director because the director is going into government. And she wants him, Rollins, to step in as deputy director. And so, it's kind of a, do you have anything we should worry about? And of course, we're all sitting there saying, yes, everything that happened in Kandahar, but he, of course, says no. So I'll be interested to see if maybe Frank at some point goes to her and tells her kind of what happened. And so that's how he can manage to get to Rollins, because she doesn't want any of that. She doesn't want to do with any of the skeletons in the closet. She just wants somebody that's straightforward and honest. And he's not that. And so when she realizes that he's not that, I wonder if maybe she'll cut ties and kind of let him loose and sort of let the law handle him. So I don't know. I'm curious to see what's going to happen next. I'm still not entirely sure where this season is going, but right now I'm enjoying it. I think they're doing a great job of building up the suspense. They're building up the storytelling as well. It's overall been a great start to the season, and I can't wait to see where it goes from here. So let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. What were your thoughts on this episode? Let me know. We can talk about and discuss all that good stuff. Leave a like and subscribe for future Punisher reviews. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.